Hi all, wanted to continue where we left off in the last video. As you recall, in the last video we were brewing in the PicoBrew Pico, had about a couple hours to go on the brew. At the end of that couple hours I removed the keg cozy, this guy, took off the ball lock connectors from here, and let's see, at the end of that we had the keg seal installed, so I took the keg seal stopper and put it in the top of the keg seal to keep it nice and tight, and then let it cool overnight to room temperature. In the morning, when it was done cooling, I took the pressure release valve, the gray one that's normally in the top of this metal keg lid, and I replaced it with the fast fermentation adapter, which is this red one. And the difference is that this one just takes a lot more pressure to pull up on the ring to release the CO2 inside. This one is calculated to be a little bit less so that it releases the pressure that needs to. Now, before I put that new metal keg lid on with the fast fermentation adapter, I slightly stirred up the wort with a clean metal spoon, and then I slowly poured in the yeast packet. Then I installed the metal keg lid, clamped it down tight so it was airtight, and then waited a couple minutes, then shook up the beer to make sure that I had a good seal on that lid. And then it just ferments, and it's been fermenting for about 3 or so days now. First little test to see if we're done fermenting. The way we do that is we pull on the top of the keg seal, or sorry, the fast fermentation adapter. So we pull on top of that guy. You heard that pressure that was released. That means that we're not quite done with fermentation if there's still pressure building there. So we'll let it sit another day and see what happens. It's been about 5 days now, and I believe the fermentation is done. The way we check that is we pull up on the ring on the fast fermentation adapter, and indeed no CO2 comes out, which tells us that no fermentation is happening, and we are ready to go on to racking and carbonating the beer. Now, one thing I want to point out, if we come down here and look at the the fermentation temperature decal, there are two ranges on this decal. On the bottom you have the fast fermentation range, which is a much larger range and has higher temperatures. You can only use this range if you are using the fast fermentation adapter in the top of a metal keg lid. And to achieve actual fast fermentation, you want to keep the temperature of the keg up in this upper part of the range above standard fermentation temperatures. That is a little more heat on the wort and a little more back pressure caused by the fast fermentation adapter. You can also use standard fermentation using this part of the range of the fermentation temperature decal. And if you do that, then you have to use the standard keg seal with a typical airlock, and you push the airlock in like that, set the liquid up, and put it in the top. So the first step of racking our beer, and by racking we really mean taking it out of the brewing keg and putting it into the serving keg. Step one is that we have to sanitize our equipment, both the transfer tube, the racking tube, and the serving keg itself. Best way to do that is with some kind of sanitation solution. In this case, we're going to use typical hydrogen peroxide. So the first thing we want to do is clean the inside of the tube. The way we'll do that is we'll put a keg wand in the top of the tube to open it up. And I have a little funnel I like to use. Put that into there. And then pour some hydrogen peroxide directly into the tube to clean it out. 1 to 1 is fine. There we go. So now we've got the inside done. Now we'll clean the outside, and a half and half solution works pretty well. That's about right. So now that sits for 5 minutes. It's been 5 minutes now that this has been resting in our sanitizing solution. Now we'll set this down, being careful not to touch it anywhere, and we'll move on to the serving keg. Remove the plug, take the solution we just used. You know what, I'm going to use the funnel again. stop this up, shake it, and let that sit for 10 minutes. So I've rinsed the serving keg with clean water, and I've also rinsed the racking tube with clean water. Those have dried, they're ready to go. Now we're going to move on to racking. So step one is to select the utility. So I go, if you can look into here, go down into utilities, and then I go to, keep going down until I hit rack beer, and I select rack beer, and then I follow the instructions. So connect the keg wand to the gray hose. Here's the keg wand, here's the gray hose. Got that? Next. Place the gray wand in a waste container. Done. Now I wait until all the liquid comes out, so you can see it's expelling the liquid from the drain hose. There we go, that's good enough. Remove the keg wand. Connect the gray ball lock to keg in. So here's keg in. Done. Connect the racking tube to keg out. Racking tube goes to keg out. Oops, over here. There we go. Direct the racking tube to the waste container. Done. Run it until we get rid of any trub. It's looking very clean. Now we insert the racking tube into the serving keg. And run it. We're within about an inch of the top here, which means we're ready to stop. Another indication would be if we had been taking any air in the line, which would mean we hit the bottom of the wort here. But we've got quite a bit in there and I don't want to overfill, so we're going to stop it right here. We finished racking the beer and it's now all in our serving keg. Next step is to carbonate the beer. We'll do that with the regulator, CO2 cartridge, and the carbonation adapter. Step one is we're going to get this plug ready. So we'll open it up. And you can see it's just a plug. It has this shipping plug inside of it that we need to remove. So press that out, get rid of the shipping plug. Set that aside. This needs to be washed. We'll do that now. It's clean and sanitized, and now we insert it in the top of the bung hole. Like that. Next step is to get the regulator ready. We want to make sure that it's off, so we turn it all the way counterclockwise until it won't go any further. Then we need to thread the CO2 cartridge into the adapter. I'm going to do this pretty quickly so we don't lose any CO2. There we go. So now we've got the CO2 on and it's turned off. So now this is where we insert it into the carbonation adapter. We just put it in there, push it in, make sure it's seated well. And now we open it up until we get to 20 psi. There we go. Now we're ready to refrigerate it for about 36 hours while it carbonates. After 36 hours, this will be fully carbonated and chilled. At that point, I will need to remove the regulator. The way you do that is to turn it all the way off, like that, which will release all the CO2. Then I can pull this out. And to serve, I pull this spout out and then turn it quarter turn to serve the beer.